everybody. Welcome to another episode on Talk Everything Education, where we'll be looking at the impact of COVID-19 on the health and well-being of educators and students. It's something that people are not talking about. It's something that people are not talking about. All everybody seems to be interested in is the academic ability of the students. One of my concerns are we could actually always catch up academically, but it's more difficult to fix broken people, i.e. a broken educator and broken students. So those are the things we need to be focusing on. How can we actually support the well-being of the educators and the student themselves? There have been a number of reports which says that 1 in 5 educators have always suffered stress, comparing with 13% of other professions. This was even before COVID, that educators were under stress. Now we have COVID, which means educators are even under more stress. There's stress in relationship to the students, relationship to the parents, the family themselves, plus politicians and the media. They all are attacking educators. What people are failing to realize that educators are human beings first and educators after. So in the same way other people have anxiety about going into work because of COVID-19, educators also have those same anxiety. We are not super anything. Anytime somebody say that educators are superheroes, no, we're not superheroes, because the minute we take on those attachments, people then expect us to act as superheroes, whereby we are not human beings. So educators, stop taking on the labels as superheroes. It comes with expectations. Because when you say you're tired, they don't understand how superheroes can be tired, because they're connecting it to the superheroes, cartoon characters, etc. Okay, I'd like to welcome on the platform my panel. Thank you, everybody, for coming on. We've just lost our psychologist from India because her internet have actually crashed, so she's not able to come on. So she might come on later on, I'm not sure. So can I just introduce my panel from around the world? We've got one from the UK, we've got one from Grenada, and then we have one from Africa. Thanks, guys, for coming on. Can you please introduce yourself, say what country you come from and what you do?
Okay, I am Elizabeth Forsyth. I'm Grenadian by birth. I live in Grenada. I am a teacher, principal, owner of a private school. By the next few weeks, I would have been in teaching now for about 41 years. Yeah, I looked back. Debbie, while we spoke earlier, I decided to check. On the 15th of October of this year, I would have been teaching for 41 years.
Whoa!
Yes, so
I'm still loving it, right?
I am loving it. That's why I'm still involved. I'm so happy to be here today, and I trust that whatever that I'm able to share, it would be a blessing to everyone.
Thank you. Ladies first.
I'm Karen Bourne. I'm from the UK, and I'm a NLP master coach, which I've been for the past 4 years, and I qualified as a trainer January 2020. So I'm pretty new at being a trainer, but a coach, I have been doing it for the past 4 years, thoroughly enjoying it and helping to see the transformation in my clients, and that's fantastic.
Thank you. Welcome. And final.
Hi, everybody. I am Komotoliba King. I am a young and proud educator. I'm young and proud. I think those.
Okay.
Those 2 words, I need to say them because we don't have young, proud educators in the system as I speak. I guess Elizabeth can back me up when it comes to that. So yes, I am a South African. I've been teaching for 10 years. Currently, I'm teaching in Ghana, and it's been wonderful. As I've mentioned that, I'm young and proud. I created a platform where I invite teachers, young, proud, more experienced, less experienced, so we can come together and celebrate them. As Debbie has mentioned, that teachers, they are given names that they don't deserve, and they're not celebrated as they should be. So I am coming, and I'm like, I really want to celebrate teachers and what they do. So that's the platform I do. And I was going to go live on the 1st of November, where we now giving teachers the respect, the honor that they deserve, and celebrate them properly.
Yeah.
So if you're that hardworking teacher and you really want to be celebrated, please, I'm on Facebook, just DM me, then we'll talk.
Okay.
Thank you, Dave.
Thank you.
Great.
It is so very true. Educators, I'm saying that on all my platform, and people probably thinking, oh, she's at it again. Educators are not celebrated. Instead, educators are attacked. And the interesting thing about all of that is when COVID first started, everybody was praising educators. Oh, how could you guys do this job? I admire you guys. And I keep on saying to people, and I even say it on this platform, it's just a matter of time before they start attacking us. It wasn't long before the press started attacking us when we said that we were fearful of going back. It was who they think they are. You know, they don't want to go back. They don't like the students. They don't care. And it was all the negative, negative, negative. And the sad thing about it is people are forgetting that we are human beings first and foremost. So with everybody anxiety, we also have the same anxiety, or even more so because we concern about our students who are not doing anything, plus our students who we have not heard from. Parents are only concerned about their own, little bubble. As educators, we think about all the students we don't see, what is happening with them, etc. And that obviously would cause educators stress. And I have noticed that there are a number of educators who are constantly stressed because they're stressed because the media is getting at them. They're stressed because the parents are getting at them. Because the parents are now saying to us that, oh, you're not teaching well, the whole attack. Plus, we have the politician telling us what to do. So with all of that, educators are stressed. And this is something people are not talking about. How can we deal with educators and students who are suffering from burnout and stress? The question I keep on posing is, do we feel that the educational institutions are able to cope with the mental health issue of educators and students? I'm throwing it out. What does people think?
Well, maybe I should respond based on our context here. Quite honestly, I do not think that we would have had that amount of pressure put on us in Grenada by virtue of the fact that, yes, we did have cases of COVID-19, but thankfully we did not have any cases of community spread. So it kind of lent itself to a little bit more comfort, so to speak, as we began to prepare to return to school. But the stress is evident still because of the uncertainty associated with the COVID-19 pandemic. You just do not know. And of course, all of the preparations that were required to be made so that school can be reopened placed quite a burden upon your shoulder as an educator, as a principal, and for me, as a proprietor, someone who owned a private school with actually no assistance, no financial assistance or whatever. We had to fend for ourselves. So that in itself added some frustration. So the uncertainty of what's happening with the pandemic, the requirements that you had to face in order to prepare for return to school, and the financial, oh my God, the financial responsibilities, that is still a lot.
Thank you. So in terms of how do you feel that you are able to cope with your tutors? What have you got in place to support them?
You know what, Debbie? I never neglected my staff. From day one, I kept in constant communication with the staff. I also kept in constant communication with the parents. I would always send daily greetings. How are you doing? I trust that everybody will be okay, and so on, just to ensure that they would know that someone is thinking about them, someone is caring for them, you know, they're not alone. And that happened throughout the lockdown, throughout the time away from school, because here in Grenada, we were away from school since March 13th. And I thank God that we had the various platforms that we could have capitalized on, Zoom especially, because we held all of our staff meetings via Zoom. We held discussions. We were preparing to launch our own personal e-learning system for the school, and we held quite a lot of our discussion via the Zoom platform. You know, we were able to see each other's faces. We were able to just talk to each other. And as well as doing that, we had the classes going on with the children as well. We only ended our academic aspect of the online program on the 3rd of July because we felt that we needed to give them their summer break. We normally had what we usually call summer school, but we decided we would not have summer school because we thought that the children needed to have a break away from the system, away from the devices, you know. And but prior to that, we got hold of our counselor. The school has a counselor, and we got hold of her. Even though she was not on island, she was in another island by virtue of COVID. She got caught there, and we connected via Zoom again. And she came on a few times, you know, to give the children assurance and so on. We also have what is called a sort of Bible club for children, which we had every Friday evening. And so we contacted those facilitators and said, you need to come in still and, you know, reassure the children that there is hope. Let them know that people care, that people love them, you know, that we are all facing this uncertainty together, you know. And I think that helps the children, giving them little songs to sing, little stories and all kinds of supporting items, you know. And that helped quite a lot. In a little while, I'll tell you what we have done since we've gone back into school. But that's what we did during the times when we were away from school.
Okay, thank you. Right, to both you, Karen, and Coach Monte, do you think that the educational establishment is equipped to cope with the increase in mental health of educators and students?
Personally, no.
In one word.
Personally, no, because of the amount of parents that are contacting me. I have dealt with, one was a young lad that had been bullied from the age of 4, and he was now 9, and he was talking about committing suicide.
Wow.
So he was not getting the help and support that he needed. And he was dreading seeing me because he thought he was going to have to talk about it. I spent my time talking about football. Through that, I was able to coach him. And he actually met his bully. He was talking about taking a knife and killing him. And I basically said, well, if you do that, you'll be the one in trouble, not your bully. So he decided to imagine him being in metal armor and the bully's voice being bullets. And he said, that means that they will ricochet off me back to him. I said, yeah. Do you know what he did? He went up and shook his bully's hand. There's been no more.
That's fantastic.
Wow.
So that, yes.
Yeah. Sorry, Karen, finish. It's interesting though, because that's even before we have something like this, right? And just imagine now we have so much of this going on. plus the pandemic, plus the increase in suicide of young people.
Yeah, exactly. And I think that is the thing that they need to know. How can they deal with it?
Yeah.
And there are people there that can listen to them. I will listen to people. No matter
but the thing is, they need to know. They need to know. That's the thing about it. And personally, being in the education system, I do not feel that enough is being done.
No.
To be honest, I do support Karen. If you look at a whole lot of the public sectors, government schools, there's not enough done. There's not enough in place. And if you look at most public schools, they struggle with the basic resources for learning and teaching. Therefore, other things like your psychologists at a certain school or certain district, they don't have enough to support and to help teachers, to educate the teachers so that they can educate the children. So there's no support, and not enough is done. But again, if you look at private school, as Elizabeth have mentioned, private school, they work like really hard to make sure that things at least are put in place. Things at least are put in place for the staff, for the students to continue to adapt, and support is put in place. As Elizabeth have mentioned, that she have sent messages, the psychologists were connecting with almost everybody, the family and stuff like that. So it was like that even this side in Ghana, because I work at the private school, and the support was given. Parents were contacted, teachers were supported constantly. So, and as such, we could navigate our way around COVID. We were supported mentally, emotionally by the psychologists, which is the opposite when we look at the government schools, which has a larger number of a society, and no support is there. So it's quite sad.
It is very true, because me looking at my own experience and because I've got my last child is 14 years old, in terms of the support that was coming was, yes, the school was calling once a week, but that is it. And in terms of when they go back, there isn't a lot, because you are being told, when you go back, you were given, when we had the meeting, you were given a link and say, oh yes, well, go onto these websites and have a look at some of the service that's being provided, and then, read it up, and then you're going to provide support for your students. And that's not enough, because you yourself need support. I'm fortunate, because in terms of some tools, because of my background, it's okay for me. But there's some educators, I'm looking at them, they're petrified. They don't know what to do. And even me going on, I'm connected with a number of educators and a number of platforms, and all I'm getting, some of them are messaging me, the stress level, they don't know what to do, because there's several stress. One stress is, especially in America, they're all going back online. So the stress of navigating this platform, and I keep on saying to them that you cannot learn everything about the online platform. You just need to learn specific areas and just use it to teach. Because see yourself as a new educator. When you just qualified, you did not know everything. You were just using what you needed to teach. So we have that in terms of the online platform. We then have the situation in terms of they're very stressed. And I also say in terms of bereavement, a number of educators are suffering from bereavement. People don't understand how and why. When you look at it, the fact is they've been always on the physical classroom, and now they're suffering a sense of loss, because everything that they used to do before, they can no longer do it. Even though you go back to the physical classroom, things are different. You cannot just get up and just go to the staff room when you want. So all those as a sense of loss. So it's a bereavement, it's a mourning process. And we also need to support educators along that way as well. So Karen, there's where you come in terms of How can you support educators in terms of they're going through the bereavement process, they're lost. The students are also going through bereavement process. Some of them could be bereavement in the sense of losing a loved one. It could also be in the sense that they've lost the connection with their friends. They've lost how the platform and how the school used to be. So that's a sense of loss. Another factor is trauma. By December, we'll have countries and institutions that they don't know how to deal with this trauma, because their students and educators are suffering from trauma. They don't know they don't know what to do. And in terms of isolation, in terms of, although students are connecting with their friends, but only in their own bubble, because classrooms are now going for lunch, because I'm in the physical classroom now, and the students are going for lunch with the group of students in the class. They may not be friends with the students in the class. Their friends might be from another class, but they cannot connect with that because they have to be in their own little bubble. And in some schools, the children actually going to get the dinner and coming back into the classroom to have the dinner. So the situation is major, which I'm sure people are not even comprehending. And if you're not in education, you don't understand what we're talking about. Because
you're quite right.
The other big thing is rejection. Someone was saying to me last week, another colleague who is not, teaching the younger children, because we are told that we cannot embrace the children or connect with the children. But one of the things is when the children see you, just imagine all the years children, they see the teacher, they're just making a beeline for this teacher.
It's natural. It's natural for the children. It's a natural thing for the children to reach out to their teachers, to reach out to their principal, to reach out to their friends. And that is one of the biggest challenges going back into the physical classroom. How do you tell a child that you're not supposed to hug, you're not supposed to, interact? I mean, it's happening with me because we have started school and we have our lunch program, and the teachers have to go to the lunchroom to collect the lunch and to take it back to the class to distribute to the children, because they're not supposed to go out to collect the lunch themselves. They're supposed to have everything in there. They're supposed to be in their seat. When they come in the morning, you're supposed to be in your seat. You're not supposed to go into any other classroom. It is not easy. It's a challenge. And it does bring on additional stress for you to try to have these children following all of these protocols. It is natural. Children are social beings. And it is unfounded to think that they can't hug you, that they can't hug their friends. They haven't seen them for months. And in some cases, although there would have been online classes going on and they would have seen them on the Zoom or whatever, there were some children who were not reached because their parents or the grandparents who had to take care of them when their parents went back to work did not have access to the internet or did not have a cell phone with the WhatsApp or whatever. So some of these children did not actually see their friends at all, and coming back into the physical classroom and seeing your friends, it is just impossible to not reach out, to not hug, to not embrace it. That's my personal greatest challenge. I am a hugging principal. I love my children. I would hug from the biggest to the smallest. I want to know that they're happy. And I have to say to them, I have to teach them to do the COVID hug, where you just open your arms, and you just do as though you're hugging. I mean, for how long can you do that? And to how many children can you do that? So it is a challenge, and the bereavement is not to be taken lightly at all, because it is a sense of loss. And I'm glad you also raised the point about the children who have actually lost loved ones. Because when that student would have lost a loved one, it is like the class would have lost that loved one. It is like the school would have lost that loved one. The community of parents would have lost that loved one, that colleague. And we have experienced that. We experienced the loss of 2 key parents in our school. And I mean, up to now, we cannot speak about them without a teary eye. I mean, one of my students has not been able to come back to school because he lost his dad, you know, and it has not been easy. I mean, and I know of some principals and other educators, other teachers who actually lost loved ones who may have been living in England or the United States. And, you know, when you have lost a loved one, you need closure. And in certain cultures, the closure is the actual funeral, when you actually see that dead body, that corpse there, and you can weep and you can, you know, mourn. But they have not been able to see their loved ones. It is not easy. So those are the types of realities that we have to deal with. And as educators, as persons responsible, as persons in charge, we have to find ways and means of helping our communities to cope. But I'm telling you, it has not been easy.
Yeah. Karen?
Yeah, you know, I think that's one of the hardest things. People that are, especially feeling people, as we say in the NLP word, kinesthetic. You know, we have the people that are visual, auditory, we have the people that are kinesthetic. And when you're a kinesthetic person and you can't have that physical contact, you feel as though part of you are dying inside.
Yes.
Yeah.
You know, and you know, I mean, I've got a granddaughter, one of my eldest granddaughter's 8, and as her dad said with her cousins, he said, we can't stop them hugging and kissing. It's so difficult because that's what they're used to doing.
Exactly.
And I think that's it. And, you know, I sort of think, you know, we can get killed by driving our cars. But does that stop you driving
from driving?
Your car?
Exactly.
That is so fantastic.
That is powerful.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? We don't stop driving our cars. We don't stop going on a plane in case it crashes. We don't stop going on a ship.
Oh my goodness, that is so powerful.
We can still die. Yeah. Life is for living, is it not?
Yeah, exactly.
And I think that's it. Life is for living, or is it, are we going to not live? Yeah. Basically, just survive.
That is so true. I love that analogy.
I think that is what's happening at the moment. We're just surviving.
Yeah.
I mean, my mother-in-law is 90. Unfortunately, she's in a nursing home. We miss celebrating that with her because the nursing home is in lockdown. My husband's only seen his mum 3 times in the middle of the lockdown outside. But he's not able to see his mom for about 2.5 months now.
Whoa, that's heavy.
That's really, really sad.
That's heavy.
That is sad.
And that is the thing. How many other people aren't seeing, you know, young children, if their grandparents are elderly, not seeing their grandparents because they're in a nursing home. And you know what? Even the prisoners now can have visitors.
Okay. You see, that's it. There's some care homes have actually released.
Yeah.
You know, some care homes are saying, yes, you need to.
Do you know what I mean? My mother-in-law's is still in lockdown.
Wow. Could you imagine how she's feeling as well?
Well, how would you feel being an elderly person in a nursing home? not really quite understanding it, but not seeing your family.
Yeah, your loved ones.
Your loved ones that you've been seeing maybe once every 2 weeks. I mean, we tried to get in to see her at least once a week.
Yeah.
But, you know, now she hasn't seen us. How do you think they're feeling?
Exactly.
Then, you know.
You see, that's the whole thing, isn't it?
You know, and it's COVID related.
Yeah. The feeling of rejection.
Yeah.
You know, this is
loneliness.
This is
aloneness.
Yeah.
Man has not been made to be alone.
No.
We are social beings.
Yeah.
We need each other. We need one another. We need community.
Yeah.
And this pandemic, I don't know. I don't know. That's anti-man, anti-humankind.
It really is.
There might be a medical issue there, but when it comes to the emotional and the social and the psychological, man is not just a one-sided being.
No.
It is not just about the physical being alone. We have other aspects of our person that must be attended to, you know, and it's worrisome because, you know, an elderly person needs that kind of support, needs that kind of love and connection, you know, and it bothers me. And the children need that too.
Yeah.
You know, and
I mean,
we have to do something.
The other thing is what a child said to me, what happens if you're number 7 in a group of friends?
I think that, you know, Karen, when you told me that, it really does hit home, because when the government is saying 6 people, really? So does COVID know there's 7 people around?
You understand?
Nonsense of this whole thing.
Yeah, you know, so we, you know, you know, if you're number 7 in your group of friends, how do you feel? Rejected?
Yeah, exactly.
They don't love me?
Yeah. This thing is so big that people, I'm not even too sure how people are actually looking at it. Because something you said, Karen, which is interesting, in terms of the car analogy, it is so very true.
Of course.
Because you have an accident, would you not drive? Exactly. And these are things, you know, we need to start applying common sense to the whole situation. And common sense is not common, and it's not being, you know, it's not being used at all. Because you see, one of the things is, it's like that educator was saying to me, that child was running towards her. She said, both of them just hug each other. Of course.
That's the natural response.
Exactly.
You don't think about that. You just respond naturally. It happens to you.
Exactly.
You don't make a hug happen. The hug happens.
Exactly. You know, so when you think of all of this situation, and in this country, the whole thing is such a nonsense, because saying that 6 people is only 6 people, but yet still in the class, we have 30 children in the classroom. And some classrooms have 29, and they're all together. So when you're talking about these 6 people, it is confusing everybody's head.
Is that what's happening in the UK?
Yes, we're told that we have to be in bubble of 6. I think it's family, right? Karen, correct me, because
you children, from the sound of it, they can only be in a group of 6. You can only play in 6 groups or have 6 people in a group talking, unless you're what is it, grass shooting, and you can have 30. Work that one out.
Exactly, isn't it? And funeral could take place.
Yeah.
Because I went to a funeral on Friday. So a funeral could take place, you know. School could still be open with your 29 and 31 children, because you don't have them separate, you have them all in the same classroom, right? So
when they're out of school, they can only be in groups of
6. Exactly.
Well, that does not necessarily happen here. They recommend a smaller number, per class, especially in the schools that do not have the space. But right, in the schools that do not have the space, they recommend that they come in cohorts, shift systems, etc., staggered approach. And we do that. We have a staggered approach. We have one group coming in at one time and the other group comes in at another time. But what we've done is to create little circles so the children know that they can go out to play, but they have to stand inside of the circle, which is 3 feet apart, because we have been allowed to use the 3 feet now. At first it was 6 feet, but now we're using the 3 feet. And so they know that they have to stand in this little circle and they can play and whatever. But I mean, it's children. How long will they stay in this little circle? They would get into the circle initially, but then obviously when play starts, that circle idea would have been evaporated.
Exactly. You've got your mute on. Unmute. My two of my panel members have logged off because the internet. He's trying to log back in, right? So we have the internet challenge.
Yes. So Debbie, I don't know. I think we're getting so many mixed signals, with how we deal with this pandemic, with how we deal with going forward, because life has to continue, as Karen said. And once we put the various protocols in place, which should have been what was happening before. All the hand sanitizing and the hand hygiene and the coughing and the sneezing hygiene, those things should have been happening before. These are things that we were always implementing at school. Any school that I worked in, those children knew that those things were what we call manners, good manners. Good manners. The hygiene for use of the bathroom, the hygiene before you go to eat or after play, or all of those things should have been part of the system before, Yeah. So it disturbs me that we have those things now as Bible, your gospel. This is what you follow so that you would not get sick with the COVID-19. But those are supposed to be regular, daily hygienic practices.
It is very true. It is so very true. It is so very true. I don't know, it's quite stressful in the sense that for us as educators, because I'm seeing, some of my educators falling apart in terms of not being able to cope. And as I said earlier on, one of the biggest panic is the online platform. And I'm constantly saying to them, you need to look at it as a new educator. You've just come from training, so therefore you just do things on a gradual basis, because if you try to take everything on at the same time, there is the increase in stress, increase in your mental health, and we're talking about burnout. We already have educators who are burnout. We have educators who have already gone to the doctor for tablets to calm their nerves down because they're not able to cope. And it's quite sad because you're getting so many mixed messages in that classroom that you don't know what to do. It's frustrating. Because I was talking to my son and I'm saying to him, so what is it like in your school? He said to me, they're still sitting on the same table, the table where the four of them, sitting at a table, and they're still there, they're still, congregating. The only problem is the teacher not allowed to move from where she's standing or he's standing from the front of the classroom to go to connect with them. But when they're actually in the corridor, it's a joke. If you look at any of the school corridors, although they have one way going this way and one way coming this way, the amount of children still congregating.
That's a challenge. We have the same thing. We have all of our markers on the floor with the direction. If you're coming in, you stay to the left. If you're going out, you stay to the right, and the markers are 3 feet apart. But sweetie pie, it just does not work. You got to be like a police.
Exactly. So, and there come a time when you have to give up anyway, because that alone is stressing you.
Exactly.
You know.
I have to be reminding them all the time, hello, remain on your marker, please. 3 feet apart. Oh, Lord.
Exactly.
It's just something so new.
Yeah. Yeah.
And you have to come up with so many innovative ways to handle it. Try to also have ways that are not inexpensive ways.
But realistic. It's got to be realistic as well.
Yeah. Make use of whatever it is that you can recycle, and this is what we've been trying to do. What I wanted to tell you, and I did not want to forget it at all, was that it's not, and I heard you made some comments in that regard, but it is not the best thing to plunge straight into academics.
Definitely not.
Just returned from school, it is not the best thing. You have to provide them an opportunity to be familiar with what is happening, and to also give out whatever stresses they may have had. You got to use different activities. We've used coloring, we've used quizzes, we've used crossword puzzles, a number of things, booklets that they could read through, and to help them to deal with it. They had their coronavirus that they had to color. Some colored it black, some colored it red, some colored it green, some colored it blue, because they're giving you the color of the way they felt towards that coronavirus. And that was very instructive. So we've been moving slowly. We've not done anything academic, basically. We've just been moving slowly into it. We got our counselors to come in, to speak to each group. And we sing songs and, things like that. And we're taking it slowly, because these children also face trauma. They also face stress. And if we are having difficulties coping with it, they will have to.
Yeah, it is very true. It is very true. So let's look at some of the support as an NLP practitioner, Karen. What some of the support you feel that educators could use readily to support themselves and the students?
I do a lot with imagining that I'm putting a marble into their hand, a small marble.
Marble, okay.
I then get them to go into themselves and put all that stuff that they want to get rid of into that marble. Now, sometimes that marble grows depending upon how much clutter they're carrying around with them. And it's a bit like carrying heavy suitcases around. And once I've done that, I'll tell them to tell me once they've finished. I ask them if there's anything they want to hold on to. And quite often it's, well, no, I'm not working on it, it's just there. I then ask them, why are they holding on to it? And if they want to, do they want to get rid of it? 9 times out of 10 they do. I then fill them up with empowerment and confidence to be able to deal with the problems that they're facing now. And by taking them to their special place, doing some relaxation work with them, breathing out the negativity, breathing in positivity, and then taking them to their special place, wherever that might be. I find it helps them a lot.
Mm, mm, mm,
And I think that is what we need to do,
mm,
basically, in the classroom
mm.
and after work.
Yeah.
Get rid of all that stress and anxiety. There's nothing that we can do about COVID. It's here. And it's a bit like in the late 70s AIDS. We've still got AIDS. AIDS is still around, but you don't hear it mentioned. And I think it'll be the same with COVID. We're going to have to learn to live with it.
Mm. Yeah. It is so very true, though. It is interesting because I was listening to someone last night regarding AIDS. She's an AIDS specialist, and she was just saying, you know, AIDS is still wrong. She said, and it is. She said in terms of, yes, it is managing now. People are managing, and exactly what you say. That's the situation now. We have to find ways of, you know, navigating this whole setup because we cannot stop living.
Mm.
And I think that's what people need to realize. And, you know, in terms of tools for educators, one of the things I'm using in my classroom, we're using a lot of meditation because it is so important that when they come into the classroom, they need to be listening to the music, classical music, and then meditating because they have a backpack. Even before COVID, they were carrying a backpack, which as educators, we have to start unpacking. Now, the backpack is much, much, much full. It's much fuller than when it was before COVID, because now they have all the anxiety, you know, from the parents, from society, from the media, from Facebook, and all that is crammed into this backpack. And it's a matter of trying to take it out because in terms of academic, I cannot focus on academic with students. I don't care what the authority is saying because they have too many things in their head that need to unpack. Because that's the reason why I feel that I need to do meditation with them. I also need to do exercise with them. I've also been starting to do EFT with them because I feel that this emotion that they've got, we need to find a place for it. Mm. And I encourage them to, you know, I start saying to my students that they need to start journaling. Some of them didn't even know what I'm talking about. You know, because I feel that they've gone through the process of, some of them have actually had grandparents who've passed through COVID. So it's like getting them to put their feelings down. Because that's what I keep on saying to parents, you need to look at what is not said. Because I'm sure Karen and, you know, Elizabeth are going to agree with me because the major factor we're looking at is the behavior of these children that is unusual, which they never used to be demonstrating before. That is the telltale signs that we need to start picking up on because they don't know how else to demonstrate it. So it's going to come out in all behavior patterns. So we need to start looking at the behaviors that are being demonstrated by the students around us and the educators themselves, because those are the signs that are telling us something is wrong. And it's more than just the behavior. What actually is going on? Because some children are not able to express their feelings. That's the reason why I keep on encouraging the journal writing, because they don't know how to express it. They've never been allowed to express it. They don't know who to express it to. So those are the things we need to look at. And for me, this mental health issue and well-being is a big thing for me because I'm picking it up. But we need to know how to deal with it. That's the big thing. How do we deal with all this thing we have in here? Because it's like a pressure cooker and everything is just going down. And by December, we'll have an explosion. Elizabeth, we can't hear you.
I muted my mic. Anyway, I was about to say that here in Grenada, I can commend the Ministry of Education, especially the the counselors, the department, the unit that dealt with counseling in the schools, they came up with a program where every day there was a little snippet, some little program that had words of encouragement, you know, what you do today, and the next day you had something, and the next day you had something. And that came every day via the media, not just Facebook only, but some of the television stations and so on. And so every day there was something that you could have looked forward to as a little hint as to how to cope and what you should do and things like that. So I thought that was really good, and I followed it and shared it as well. So at least here something was done to help to cope with that kind of situation, the emotional part of it especially. So I would give kudos to them for that.
Karen, what did we have?
I don't think we had anything in schools. No support for the children at all.
Nope.
My granddaughter, I phoned, because we were away on holiday when she went back to school, and I phoned her up and I said, so how did your first day at school went? And she said, well, it went okay. And I thought she said we had our weights done to her. And I said, your weights done to you? What do you mean? And she said, no, our rights read to us.
Okay.
What we could do and what we can't do. Now we've gone back.
That's quite sad, eh?
Yeah.
Did she say read to them? Read to them?
Read to them.
So they were not allowed to be part of the
their rights read to them is what she said.
That's quite sad.
We discussed that at school. The kids were involved, you know, to come up with all of those different, I don't want to call it rules, but, you know, what we should do and what we shouldn't do and why we should do it and, you know, what can happen. The children were actively involved in that. You can't read something out of that. That's like reading the Riot Act.
That's exactly what's happened in the schools here.
No.
Yeah. That's so very true, because that's exactly what my son said when he came back. And that's exactly what happened to us. You know, when he's saying, oh, yes, mom, you know, we were told, you know, they went in for 2 hours on the first day and they were told what they can and cannot do. And, you know, and they just pass in one edge and they go off the other because the children, come on.
Yeah.
You know, so.
I mean, the one thing my granddaughter did say is, what did I do during lockdown when I was a little girl?
What did you say?
I said, well, we've never had one before.
Exactly. Yeah. It's quite a sad situation. And for me, my major concern is what the local authorities and the schools are not listening to. They're not paying attention to the mental health issue. And I keep on going on about it because come December, they're going to be saying, oh, I don't know what's wrong. Oh, you know, look at what's happening. You know, look the amount of children, that young people that are suffering from mental health. It's in the increase. And look at the amount of young people that's committing suicide. But nothing is being said. It's like a silence. And
there have been young people commit suicide during the lockdown. Yeah.
Wow.
Committed suicide because they were lonely. They felt alone. And I think this is it. I think, you know, that there was mental health problems before this. Now it's 100 times more. And they haven't, the NHS have not got the support for all these problems.
But you see, it's not only the mental health, not the NHS. They could actually buy, there's so many alternatives, Karen.
This is it. There are alternatives, but in a way, all they seem to do as well is just stick them on medication.
That's it.
Putting a plaster over it, not dealing with the root cause. And I know that from my own experience of when I was a youngster.
Yes.
And my grandfather passed away and I was 12. I wasn't allowed to go to the funeral. And it built up and it built up and it built up, and I started having panic attacks. I got addicted, and I do class myself as a drug addict from 13 to 21. I was addicted to Valium.
That's the sad thing, isn't it? Because that's what they're prescribing.
And that's what they were prescribing.
Yeah.
And it was a lovely feeling to be on it.
Yeah. That's the sad thing about it.
And, you know, this is why, another reason why, when I got the opportunity of doing my NLP, there are more people like me.
Yeah, of course.
And
exactly.
I want to help them.
Yeah. It is so very true. And that's the sad thing about it. Because, Karen, you're so right, because that's what they've been now prescribing is Valium to calm the nerves, instead of looking at, okay, what other practitioners could we go to? You see, so that's one of the things I've been saying to schools. We need to look at outside, because one counselor is not enough to support the educators and the children. We need to find alternative, and there are loads of alternatives that works. But nobody
have a big challenge.
Exactly. Nobody's talking about it. Nobody's even talking about the mental health issue. It's as if it's silent. Because everybody's talking about the academic and how much, you know, how many work children have missed and all of that. And I said to one of my colleagues, I don't care. Because you see, as I keep repeating, it is easier to fix, you know, the academic ability than to fix broken pieces. And that's what we're going to be having. If we don't find alternative, and I'm urging all educational institutions, if you do not find alternative, i.e. the NLP, the EFT, all of those alternatives, we're going to have a crisis. And that's where we're heading.
And that crisis would be much bigger than the pandemic.
Of course it would. Because I'm looking at by December, we'll be talking on this platform, December, we'll be talking something different. We'll be saying, oh my goodness, have you seen the statistics? Because it would be an increase in statistic, because we've seen it now. And education institutions need to start taking notice, instead of just relying on the 1 and 2 counselors that they have in the building. It's not working. Because the sad thing about it is they're not even noticing that the children are still going through the grieving process. And they're still suffering loss and isolation. It's quite big. I find it big and I find it frustrating.
And the thing is, you can't see mental health problems in a way, because people are very good at keeping them in. When it becomes, because I ended up having a physical illness, because, you know, there's only so much. When you start getting pain and things like that, that is how it can come out as physical problems.
That is very, very true, because the mental illness manifests itself into physical. That's very, very true.
And
very,
it's when
very
it gets
true.
physical that it gets noticed.
Yeah. Because you see, with a mental illness, you cannot see anything. You're just relying on what the person is saying to you in terms of the emotion and the feelings and what they see, etc. But with the physical, you could see the cut on the person's hand, you could see the increased blood pressure, you could see the diabetes, you could see all of those things. And that's the sad thing of diagnosing mental illness, because you cannot physically see anything. You're relying on the person to tell you. And the fact that educators and children are telling us but people are not taking it seriously. Because as you rightly say, Karen, you cannot see it. So therefore, what you cannot see, you think doesn't exist. It's, you know, we're in a sad situation, especially for educators. The reason why I say especially for educators, the fact that we are having, you know, researchers are saying to us that 1 in 5 educators have been suffering from stress and burnout. That's before the pandemic, compared with different professions where it's 13% are suffering from that. So could you imagine now where we have this situation of the pandemic? It's twofold.
And then you all are going into a second lockdown soon. I was listening to your news.
That's what they're saying to us. I'm not too sure why and how.
And then you had so many persons out there protesting against it.
The sad thing is why and how, when, I don't know, it's frustrating. So what tools could we arm our educators with, apart from, you know, what other things could we actually say to them and suggest to them? You know, I'm going to start. One of the things is they need to find the support network. That is crucial, educators. You need to find support network. And I'm urging you, do not find yourself with people who are going to be talking constant negativity about this situation they cannot control. We have no control over this situation, so there's no point in going over it constantly. Yes, you have to talk about it, but there's no point in constantly looking at all the news there are. It's not going to be any good for your well-being.
No.
So you need to form positive network, whether or not it is you do a WhatsApp group or you do a physical group. You need the support network. And you guys need to be talking about things that empower you, not about the news and what's happening. Because what you have no control over, you need to let go. You only start dealing with things you have control over. And as we know, educators are suffering so much because they are control obsessed. Educators like to be in control. And the fact that they've lost control, they feel that they've lost everything. So they're now suffering the mourning process.
Right, rest and relaxation, Debbie. Right, rest and relaxation, critical to handling the emotional aspect of this. Because if you're tired, and I always say as an educator, when my brain is tired, my entire body is tired as well. So we need to leave stuff that relates to the school, to our class, to whatever, outside of the times when we need to be relaxing and resting. It is critical.
Self-care. Self-care.
And stop listening to the news.
Definitely.
Sorry?
Stop listening to the news.
Yes.
Because you're feeding yourself with negativity. What will be, will be. So stop listening to it. Until they start promoting positive news. Which do they?
Can they? Positive news doesn't sell, Karen.
Exactly.
That's true.
So if people stop listening to the negativity, stop buying the papers, what would they do?
That's very true. That's very true. I don't listen to news. I don't have a TV. I don't buy newspapers. I live in my own bubble.
If everybody else did exactly the same, what would happen?
Interesting thought. They'll have to change things. They'll be forced to change, isn't it?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Debbie, one of my personal strategies is prayer. I do a lot of praying, meditating, reading of my Bible, listening to gospel music, because it's so uplifting. And had I not had that kind of an avenue, I don't know how I would have survived certain things.
Mm.
Because when COVID hit, it was like a bolt of lightning of uncertainty.
Mhm.
And you had to have some source of strength outside of you that you could have depended on to carry you through. Because I did tell you one time before that I was contemplating closing down the school because I did not know what the future held. And I really and truly did not want to be responsible for any mishap, so to speak, that may have occurred going forward. But I prayed a lot. And even with the online platforms, the e-learning platforms that we had to use, I remember I was there and I was just praying a lot and saying, God, how do we handle this? Because I knew some children had difficulties and I knew my teachers were making so many sacrifices. You know, we stayed up late, very late in the night. I had to be there with some of my teachers, helping them to be able to prepare lessons and how to source additional aids and, you know, videos and different things to help to bring the lesson across in an interesting and effective way so that the children would not be bored and feel that they want to do something else because we are not there physically to, you know, motivate them, you know, and help them to attend. And so all after 1 in the night, we would be there. I would be there with them, helping them. They had to send me their lesson plans, what they planned and so on. I had to be looking at it. It was very, very tough. And had it not been for the strength of God, I don't know how I would have made it. I'm telling you the absolute truth. And I thank God that I had that source that I could have looked to receive that kind of strength to go forward. And I still do, because we are still in a sense of uncertainty. We don't know what's going to happen. Some people are clamoring for a vaccine. Some people are saying, no, we don't want any vaccine, and all of the different things that are going on. And you do hear so many negative things being said, as Karen said, and you have to sift what you're going to listen to. You have to sift the various media houses that you're going to listen to. You have to sift the various videos that are coming, bombarding you, even on Facebook. You have to sift and say, I am not going to listen to this. I am not going to listen to that. I would not view this. I would not view that. You have to make a conscious decision to keep yourself sane in this time.
Yeah, it is very true. It is very true. You know, because it's all there. It's all there. It's all there. It's all there. Okay, can I have one tip from each of you? It could be two. You know, what else, you know, what could we offer? You know, for me, it's relaxation, 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 self-care, self-care, self-care. What I've discovered as well, educators are not taking care of themselves. They've been teaching back to back. And one of the things is, as you say, Elizabeth, if you don't take care of yourself, how could you take care of anyone else? Realistic.
Debbie, let me tell you this. What I did personally when I had to go back to school, I went to the doctor to do my checks to make sure that I'm well physically. Because, you know, I'm saying to myself, I cannot be nursing some physical ailment and have to go back into school to handle all of the additional things that have come on by virtue of the COVID-19 protocols and requirements. So you have to ensure that you are physically fit. And I have to say that here in Grenada, there has been a thought from the Ministry for Education that if teachers are predisposed, are, you know, not well, are what they call vulnerable, that they should really not be in the classroom. I don't know. It has been said, I don't know how practical it has been, but I am thinking that people have to take care of themselves physically as well, not just the mental one, not just the relaxation, but also do your checks, visit your doctor, make sure that you are well going forward.
Yeah, eat well. Yeah, thank you. Karen?
Don't take your life too seriously. Have fun and enjoy life. Live your life to the full.
Actually, I like that. That is so very true. Because some people seem to be living according to COVID. Do you know that? But seriously, some people are living according to COVID.
Oh my God. Debbie,
Yeah.
I had a
Your life,
my
you
husband,
live
my
it.
husband and I celebrated 36 years of marriage, and we had a COVID virtual wedding anniversary celebration. You know.
Yeah. Some people are
Oh my
living
God.
according to COVID.
Yes.
You know, when you
That's
see some
true.
of them, it's like, you know, the mask form part of the accessory and all of
Yes.
that. You know, some people are
But
living.
I can't handle the mask. I can't handle the mask. I have
I
many
can't.
masks. I have the cloth mask. I also have the surgical mask, but trust me, it makes me feel so sick. And the past few days have been extremely, extremely, extremely hot.
Yeah.
And I was just suffocating with it. So I had to get the face shield. So I have about 3 face shields, and I've been encouraging the parents. I said, if you get the face shield, I think the child should feel a little bit more comfortable. So I am going for the face shield. The mask is just
I can't do
not
any of
helping.
them.
Just not helping.
Yeah. It's interesting. Thank you very much. Have you got anything else you want to say before I just wrap up and close up?
If
I want to
anybody-
tell you.
Oh, sorry.
Okay, Karen, you go ahead.
I was going to say, if anybody needs any help and
Oh,
support,
yes, please.
I'm here.
Yes. Can you
Great.
drop your link in the online, please, Karen?
In the chat.
Yes, please. Yeah.
Debbie, I wanted to say that.
No, sorry, Karen, not in the chat, online. When you actually go to my Facebook, put it in the Facebook. Yeah.
Okay.
Yes, yes.
Yeah. Debbie, I had to congratulate you because what you are doing is so phenomenal. You have been able to use the ideas that were given to you to reach out to those of us scattered all over the world, you know, and I'm telling you that I listen to your program and I learn a lot of things from teachers all over the place, and, you know, and it has been so very interesting, but also very informative. So I want to say thank you to you for what you've been doing. And I want to tell you that you are appreciated, and I want you to continue to do what you're doing. God bless you.
Thank you very much. Thank you very much for that. I feel humble.
You're welcome.
Yes.
Welcome.
Yeah.
Yeah. I feel humble because I realize that there is a situation where, as an educator and someone who, you know, involvement inside my psychology background, I felt that I needed to do something because educators were feeling that they are alone. And I'm constantly saying to you guys, we are all in the same situation. We are all in the same boat, but we all going in different direction. Some people are going to America, some people are going to the Caribbean, but we're in the same boat because we are experiencing the same situation. We don't have the answer. Even on the online platform of actually teaching online, we don't have the answer. No one has the answer.
We need one another.
Exactly. So stop beating up yourself and thinking that, oh, you're not doing it right. You don't know what to do. We don't know what to do either. I don't know what to do. I'm making so much cock up in everything. But at the same time, we are learning from those cock up.
We are learning.
And that's the major thing. Because when we actually went online in March, you know, that was a test. Now, when we go back in September or August, we should be learning, we should be using all the skills that we started in March and fixing up the skills. It's like when you first became an educator, you make so much mess. I remember, you know, I did a lesson plan for every minute on a lesson plan. I didn't even teach half of the thing. I didn't even teach half of the thing on the lesson plan. When I finished,
you had no room to breathe?
I didn't have no room to breathe. Because as a new educator, you're thinking, yes, you made it, you know, you did your lesson plan for every minute, and I had a 2-hour lesson, you know. Could you imagine?
Oh my God.
Could you imagine 2 hours, and I was doing psychology, 2 hours. What? And I'm thinking, when I finished, I thought, I didn't even do half of this. But Debbie, it's the same thing.
My sharing with my children is always punctuated with laugh, with fun, with jokes. They say that I'm funny, but I love it.
Yeah, it's important. We have to add humor. As education, you know, we need to realize as educators, we are actors on stage. That's what we do. We just, because when you're actually teaching as well, you have to be a good, you have to be able to talk well. And I must say, I'm good at that.
Yes.
Whether or not it's plus, minus, I love talking. I could talk about education from now until forever because I love what I do. And educators, you need to remember that you are there because you're passionate about it. And you also need to remember that you have not got it right, so no one else has it right.
True.
We are all paddling in this boat. But the fact is you've done
every single day.
Exactly. And you've done well. You haven't sunk. The boat is still going. Although you're paddling, but we're still there. So educators, celebrate where you're at and celebrate what you've done and stop beating up yourself. Thank you, everybody, for listening. We are not mourning. We're just saying as it is. Have a fantastic evening, night. Please remember to share, comment, and like. And Karen is putting her link in the bottom and on the Facebook. Reach out to Karen, educators, because you need the help. You don't need the tablets. You need alternative. Right. Thank you, everybody. Bye, Facebook, and I see you guys possibly tomorrow with my evening program.